It is Wednesday, the 22nd of June, the day after the longest day, which is still as long as yesterday and the day before. What do you think, Dahi?
It's a good quote, that one.
It is a good quote, because tomorrow's going to be the same length.
Yeah.
And the day after it.
And
is the weather improving?
Yeah, nice weather today.
Are you doing anything, or have you been doing anything?
A lot of football the last
Basking
few days.
in the sunshine?
Yeah, getting the tan.
This is the joys of being on the summer holidays, is it?
Yeah.
How long have you been off on holidays now?
3 weeks tomorrow.
You must be ready to go back now the next week or so, are you?
Still like 2 more months.
So it's a busy summer for you, is it, with football?
Yeah.
The simple word called WORK, does that come into it at all? Work. Have you heard about that word?
Yeah.
It's a concept.
Are you doing any of it?
On Wednesdays down here.
On Wednesdays down here, that's good.
But you're podcasting, that's...
Yeah.
This is the Tribune podcast. I forgot to mention that with myself, John McAteer. Dahi's here and Eamon, and Declan's not available today. I see, Eamon, where 6 HSE staff have been paid more than $500,000 last year.
Klondike of a wage, isn't it?
It's not $500,000 between them, apparently. It's $500,000 each.
Each.
Jesus.
Is there a breakdown of the actual highest earners, or?
One person took home more than $750,000. The payments include basic salary and can also cover allowances, overtime, night duty, and arrears. And the 6 people earning more than $500,000 is up on the 3 who earned over this amount the previous year. And it is understood the 6 are hospital consultants. Another 10 employees get more than $400,000, and then Paul Reid, the chief executive, gets $430,000, $399. To nearly do your head in reading out these figures, because I'm just reading there and just on the news reads there that Neil Martin has announced that the top civil servants earning $150,000 or more who have been denied wage increases recently, they are now to be restored.
Yeah.
Yet last week the deal with the unions broke down because they could only offer them 2.5% over the next 2 years, despite inflation heading north of 8% and probably heading for 10%.
Yeah.
The country's wild badly divided. You know, when you think that the minimum wage is $10.50, and that's the minimum wage. The living wage is what, $12.90. It's still $2.40 below. The minimum wage, I think, has been phased out probably next year, and over a number of years then it'll be brought up. I think
To meet that minimum wage level, is it?
is to meet that living wage level, which is I think going to be about 60% of what they call the average wage. Now I don't know how that's going to work out, because this country is very badly divided, because those who have it have too much and those who haven't will never have enough.
Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about? Very little. COVID is back on the agenda again.
Yeah, I see they're suggesting now maybe masks may be back on the agenda for dining indoors or meeting indoors and things like that in public forums.
I can't see that taking off at all again, because people have got rid of the masks after 2.5 years. I can't see people being in any big rush to go back to wearing masks. How would you feel going back to college in September wearing a mask?
It was bad like last year and all, because like you're only allowed to take them off when you're having break and lunch. And if you go outside, like, but it's like all
The
day in
COVID
the
numbers are
classrooms.
there. It's not gone away, you know.
Yeah.
People are still there. People are still getting sick.
COVID numbers have doubled, because
Hospital admissions. There seems to be a nasty strain this newer ones, you know.
it seems to be, but like, I think it's almost inevitable that is going to happen, because people are moving a lot. People are queuing at airports. People are on holidays. They're coming back home. God only knows what they're bringing back with them. And you know, between now and September, there'll be hundreds of thousands, probably 1.5 million people, will have been on holidays, will have spent time on long flights, waiting in Dublin Airport and all the other places where you could easily be in contact with somebody that
I see.
that's a close contact.
The Schiphol Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, went through the same experience as Dublin Airport during the week there, where there was queues, people missing flights, and that's one of the most organised airports in the world. It just shows you how many people are. So surely it's going to be like that's them hemmed into these places for lengthy periods of time, you know. Never
But
mind
is
the
there
flights.
any answer to that? Because if there's going to be some of the European countries already has had a mini wave of COVID this summer. Is it Portugal or one of those?
Not sure.
Not sure.
Well, probably Spain again, perhaps. But listen, it's just not going to go away. If it's kind of teetering along like this over the summer, like you'd think, what are we sort of staring into come autumn, winter time again? I know there.
Well, exactly what we had last winter. There'll be more vaccinations.
Boosters.
I don't know if there's any big developments going on insofar as getting a vaccination that'll prevent it. There's no word of that now.
To be announced now, but you know,
I mean,
China's
I
still
suppose
struggling and they're still locking down.
probably
cities.
a good many people already have their 2 boosters. Did people like you, Dahi, get any vaccinations?
Yeah, I've had both of them, but I
Both
haven't
of
got the booster.
You probably aren't going to be eligible for the booster.
Yeah.
I don't know what the story is about that because you're not 15.
Nearly 15, like.
You're nearly 15, so you're 50 years too young.
Yeah.
You have to be over 65. You have a long wait.
Hopefully it's still not around that time.
Can you even begin to imagine what life will be like in 50 years' time?
Be all, like, everything, like flying cars and all.
Well, we have people here from another planet, from outer space.
Flying cars all weekend up here.
You could be going to you could be going to work on outer space.
Mad.
I'd say the job that you might have doesn't even exist yet.
Probably, that's true.
Anyway, talking about cars, there's a big scarcity of patrol cars, and there's probably a big scarcity of people to drive them. That's according to, it's not the Tribune saying that, it's come from Michael McClafferty. If you're listening to us, Michael, you have told us that this is the story.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what that's about, Eamon.
Yeah, well, it's something we've been on about recently. That's Dunfanny in particular was without a reduction in staff members and also a reduction in Garda patrol cars to the sum of 0. But we learned this week that Falcara is also now without their car. So between Creasla, Dunfanny, Falcara, the 3 stations, there's no active dedicated patrol cars because they've all reached their end of life. Now, typically they would have 2 patrol cars to go between the 3 stations. Probably.
How many patrol cars do we have in this whole Milford end of the?
Well, that's the one we never got
you have
down.
you have a couple of at Milford.
You have a couple that see they have a van there occasionally.
I'm reliably informed. I don't see them about very much. They're probably out chasing robbers and all that kind of thing.
Well,
you don't see too many patrol cars about.
Well, you'll not see too many down our way because they're just not there. They were now the guards are saying that the interim vehicles have been made available from local district headquarters, but that if they're down in numbers as well. I mean, they say the guards even say in relation there's a shortage of vehicles in the areas referenced. Like that's that could be flashed out probably to the whole Milford district and possibly even beyond that too. So, I mean, I can't imagine what's going on down in a wee area like that as unique. You know.
So you know it's not unique.
You know it's not unique.
That's probably the very.
That's a big area. But do you think if you go from that between Creasla, and this is only station to station. This doesn't include sort of the hinterlands. You know, that's over 17 kilometres between those 3 stations. And there, if you take Creasla is about 23 kilometres away from Milford, and Falcara is about 37. That's a long ways to go to kind of rely on a bit of backup if you were having an emergency.
And I remember a few years back when there was a kind of a picnic down at the big Ashton Pollock, and the Gardaí were notified that half the parish their lives were under severe threat, and the patrol car had to drive from Dunlow.
Dunlow?
Yeah.
To Fannet, the Great Irish up to the top of Fanhead.
To discover that when they arrived, we were all sitting out having a cup of tea and buns, and the guard looked out at it. He says to me, "Where's the row at?" And I said, "There isn't any." And he says, "Oh, fuck that anyway." And the smell of burning rubber off that patrol car was quite frightening. So, if you had an incident in Creasla now, would it be possible that you'd have to have a patrol car, presuming that they have one in Dunlow?
Well, that's it. Well, either end of the scale, if it's from the Dunlow side, maybe Bunbeg, maybe, but they're like to drive to Gweedore.
But do they have patrol cars down there?
I think the nearest one that I understand Bunbeg has, Milford has, but there's nothing.
But what happens if they're out on call?
Exactly. There's no cover.
I'm not too sure.
But that's
What have you got there, Di? You're looking at something about money.
Yeah. 3 Northwest 10k charities were presented cheques totaling to €66,000 on Monday night in the Mount Ergo Hotel. It's the 25th anniversary year of the Northwest 10k.
Very, very good. It's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah.
3 charities getting that sauce.
Then over the 25 years, I'm sure the Northwest 10k will have a good figure on exactly what it is, but it's tens and tens of thousands.
Oh, yeah.
Huge amount of money going on there, and Declan Care of this parish is probably very much involved in that. He does most of the PR work, I'd imagine, for it. But do you do 10k's or 5k's at all?
I ran 5k yesterday.
Oh, did you?
And a race?
No. Just out the road.
Just out the road, 5k.
Yeah.
But do you go out to the fundraisers at all?
No.
You might now start, will you?
Hopefully. Maybe, yeah. See if Francis doing any.
But you don't have to be looking over your shoulder to see what Francis is doing, because he's a millionaire and you're never going to get up there.
Do you think you could beat him 5k?
Yeah. Not anything more, but like a 5k maybe.
I'm looking for something here. Micah Group shocked by report. This is not the best news in the world for Micah. We've heard a lot of comment since the bill was published yesterday. And it's bad news for everybody, no matter what Charlie McConnell might try to put across. Talked at length with Michael Doherty, as I've been doing for the past year, and he probably is the most ground and probably the most informed person in the entire Micah crisis, and that includes the Department of Housing. The Minister published the bill with very little changes to what they had previously seen, and they're deeply disturbed and unhappy with what's going on here, because he says, and this is a fact, because it's written there in black and white, the bill specified that where homeowners rebuild their foundations, this will render them ineligible for grant aid. And he says they're also concerned about the proposal to sign a document agreeing not to pursue agents or others for compensation. So that would negate any legal challenge. Like any legal challenge would be
against anyone.
Against anyone.
Yeah.
Like any legal challenge would only be relevant insofar as it's the cost and the amount that you get is at variance. Like if the grant aid,
shortfall as such.
Say if you're going to get grant aid of 250,000, which is a ballpark figure, it might be even less, and you only get 200. The legal challenge would be then to try and recover that 50,000 from whatever agent, let it be the government, let it be the suppliers of the materials, or who else can you sue? The state. Where are they going to get the money out of? But this is a very, very poor document. The Micah Group will be in Dublin tomorrow. The housing committee is meeting for 6 hours to see if they can hammer out anything by way of change. The Micah Group is going there with absolutely no expectation, because every proposal that they put forward and have considered in great detail and all the hard work they've done has been completely tossed aside as if they never existed, and they're back to square one, to where they were last week when they first went to Dublin to protest. The only thing that has happened is the materials have gone up by 70%. Homes have got much worse. They're going to be facing into another long winter, and hopefully they will either find accommodation or that the weather conditions will be in their favour, that there won't be any heavy frost. It's an awful place to be in.
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble. It is looking more and more like that Micah Action Group is going to be confronted with two things. Do they advise their members not to join this scheme because it's a loser for them? And secondly, do they look forward to a new administration and a new government? They can do all of that, but you see, the reality there, as Michael will agree, is that you're still going to be confronting the same officials, the permanent government. Of course, there's other options to go down. Somebody may emerge as a candidate for the general election. Maybe more than one. Plus, up in areas like Inishowen and probably here in this Letterkenny Milford area, candidates may emerge for the local elections.
Yeah.
That would shake things up a little bit, because there's sort of a complacency that because it's up here in Donegal, we don't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
We don't, like, insofar, if this was a Dublin problem, it would be resolved long ago. I mean, they have this ballpark figure of 2.7 billion, as if that was a showstopper and that, you know, you can't go beyond that. But the government has billions to spend, and the billions to throw away, which they're damn good at. And they're raking in that much money on the excise duty on fuel at the moment. They don't know what to do with money. But it leaves the whole Micah campaign at a crossroads. Do they withdraw entirely from any further negotiations after tomorrow? Because nothing much is expected. There is a belief around Leinster House, and I'm talking to people there, that they're going to get this over the line by hook or by crook by the 15th of July and clear the decks for the autumn session, which will be the Taoiseach's last session.
Yeah.
And apparently he's just all into legacy, what legacy he's going to leave behind.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want anything to rock the vote. Now, if the Dáil was to vote against this thing, there's no reason that should precipitate an election. But the likelihood of the Dáil voting either way to turn down that bill would be very, very, very low. Because even though they have a very thin majority with one seat, the reality is that there's 21 independents there. There's others won't be there on the day. And it's not in the interest of independents to vote on something down in the south of Ireland that has no impact on their constituents. The general belief there from fairly experienced politicians that this thing could be carried over the line by about 10 of a majority. They have their sums down there. And there's no guarantee that any government TD, no matter what they say, is going to vote against their party or vote against the government. And that's one to ponder, you know, as we go forward. Mike has been with us now for 10, 12 years, at the very least, maybe longer. And to think that after that bill was published yesterday, with nothing at all new in it, it doesn't say much for the representatives that we have in Leinster House on the side of the government, who probably had to know all about this, because if they didn't know, who did?
And they're not getting the opportunity to scrutinise that properly.
But I mean, you know, up a place like in Sean where Micah is rampant, this just looks like a no-brainer. It's going nowhere. But the Micah Action Group will have to advise its members after tomorrow. And what's going to happen tomorrow is that they will all make a pitch for changes. The Micah Group will be in repeating ad nauseum what they've been saying hundreds and hundreds of times for the past year by way of amendments needed and the forensic details put alongside all that. They could stick up the whole 6 hours to do that, but I suppose they won't be allowed to do that. And even if they are, why should anything change now? Because what happens tomorrow, there won't be a decision. They will all write to the Housing Minister. He'll get a bundle of letters someday in the next week or so, and then it'll go on to the Dáil, and there'll probably be a hurried whip on the thing to just have it voted through on Friday fortnight. And that's where we stand on Micah here in Donegal, and that's why up here in Donegal our politicians don't count for very much, because they're not making their voices heard either at the cabinet table or in the party rooms at the weekly parliamentary party meetings. Anyway, that is that soapbox piece now done for the day. We'll leave that aside. What else are we doing here? You have a bit there about this Blaney legend.
Liam Blaney is to be elected the new chairman of Donegal. It will be his first time to hold the position in 19 years, after he was co-opted in 2003 to replace his brother Niall.
Yeah, do you know him? He is one of your councillors here. We have 3 councillors, Milford, Ian McGarvey and John O'Donnell. And Liam. Yeah, you not have a vote for a couple of years yet, so.
Yeah.
Are you interested in politics?
No.
Absolutely not. Anyway, Liam Blaney is 19 years in the council. It's his first time to be the chairman, and we wish him well. We're going to move on. A couple of things there. We're just going on the front page. We have Remelton lad sustains life-changing injuries, and this is young Ben McGarvey, and they've set up a GoFundMe page. He was engaged in an accident in a motocross race on the 8th of May, and he's in hospital in Galway. Probably the family's under a lot of stress all around.
Needs his support.
The GoFundMe page has been set up by the family, and we'd recommend that you read that story and that you look at it and take stock of the fact that he's lying in hospital. He's had 6 surgeries. He's having another bout later on this week. But we ask for your support on behalf of the McGarvey family, and we're going to look at our lead. Our big story this week is outrage as Rally reneges on Fannet Agreement. The decision by the organisers of the Donegal Rally to run 3 stages of this year's event over the Fannet Head route was in total conflict with an agreement brokered in the late 1980s that restrained them from doing so in the future. That's according to our sources involved in the negotiations to allow the rally to continue in the area. This is a huge, big story. The Fannet Head stage was full of chaos, full of mayhem. Half the stage was cancelled without any information being provided. People living on that last 6 mile route of the stage across 10 town lands didn't know whether it was safe to go out on the roads. They didn't know whether the road was opened or closed, yet traffic was flowing out. The rally cars were getting back into Knockalla on that road. The stage stopped abruptly, and yet visitors coming to look for the big arch, the great arch at Pullard, were being directed down on that route which was closed, and they were told it was okay to go. Crazy. That and a whole lot of other things. We have Liam Blinny there adding his voice to the whole thing again, saying that he fully agrees that the rally has passed its sell-by date in Fannet and it is time for change since nobody in the Donegal Motor Club is listening. And this is the quote, one of the quotes he is in. I'm not surprised that a long-standing agreement had been broken, and this is simply not acceptable. What happened last Saturday is an insult to the people of Fannet, whose support and generosity contributed to the success of the rally down the years. The event is only as successful as the goodwill of the families impacted by the road closures, and this leaves the organisers with big questions to answer as to why the people of Fannet were treated with such disrespect, and I can only agree 100% with that. That is some of the stuff that's in this week's edition of the Tribune, and we recommend it to you for reading. It's only costing still $1.80, one of the cheapest things around that you can buy. Anyway, that's it for this week. Talk to you again next week.